Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Formula One Philosophy. Today I'm trying out something new. It's going to be called Nick's News, which is a now branch of Formula One philosophy, much like therapy and therapist. Whereas therapy and therapist is me and Sean talking to each other from opposite ends, away from a microphone, where I have some crazy theories, some crazy ideas, and Sean tries to tamper them a little bit or taper them and say, hey, this is where he might be getting some things wrong. My therapist might talking me off the ledge. Today is just really opinion today, and I'm just going to be talking about stuff I see in the Formula One world and my opinions on them. No politics, no nothing like that, just what I'm seeing going on in Formula One and stuff I want to talk about. Sean is more than welcome to do his own, and I think he will in the future. I think he has some ideas that he's going to be bringing out very soon. But as for today, it's just Nick's News. The regular shoutouts, Formula One _philosophy at Instagram. You guys have been liking our content there, liking our shorts and stuff like that. F1 Philosophy at YouTube. You guys really like our shorts there too. Check it out. We got more content coming. I'm going to be trying to do daily shorts, daily videos. Hopefully more segments like this. And F1 philosophypod at gmail.com to join our fantasy league for the 2024 F1 season. Producer Gatsby quoted Ezekiel 24:36 to me the other day, and he thought he was Samuel L. Jackson. I think you all know what that means. Please, somebody help us and stop him from winning this league. But yeah, like I said, today, it's not a therapy or a therapist type of episode. It's more of just Formula One news and how Nick sees it. And my thoughts today are on the 2025 driver market, the updates there, and how Mick Schumacher relates to that. Remember, I told you one of the main goals of this podcast was getting someone like him back in Formula One. I feel that he's underappreciated, underrespected, and people complain about the lack of competition. Less so since Lando Norris won in Miami last week. Great job, Lando. But for, I would say, the last year and a half, there had been a lot of complaints, even in the 2022 season, towards the second half. A lot of complaints that there had been not great competition in Formula One. The Red Bull's just running away with it. And like I pointed out in other episodes, it's partially your fault because you guys wanted some things changed years ago. Won't rehash that too much. When you had the potential for someone who could have been a world beater, because his father was the best of all time, in my opinion. And if, say, Sean comes in with an argument saying Senna was better, he's still the second best of all time. So I'm not just going to shit on Senna. I'm not going to shit on everybody else. But Michael is one of the two best. I think that's without debate. His son had a lot of potential, had won the juniors, had followed the steps up to Formula One, and treated like shit the entire way in Formula One because he crashed like his 7-time world champion father. So yeah, I already brought that up in a previous episode. I'm not going to rehash that too much, but I'm just going to say today he's going to be the focal point of my talk and how he relates to almost every team on this grid, minus McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull. Red Bull seems to have no real interest in having someone like him. They did in the past. And I think with Toast still there, he might have had a way into that team. And shame on Ferrari, like I said in the past episode, for doing what they did to Mick. Because Mick was a Ferrari product, wanted to drive for Ferrari, wanted to be with Ferrari, even though his family had better ties with Mercedes. His family would have told him to go that route, and he could have had Williams, McLaren, Mercedes, Aston Martin. He could have had more shots on the grid, and Ferrari sat there, took him as a young product, helped his junior career, and then the second he came into Formula One, shat all over him, through Gunther Steiner, even though he was driving an undrivable car in 2021, doing Haas and Ferrari a favor, and got progressively better in 2022, only to watch the people he was compared to, Hülkenberg and Magnussen, exclusively, compared to those two types of people, absolutely shit the bed for the next year and a half. And there's a lot of hype around Hülkenberg right now. I'm going to get to it in a bit. But they had the same points they did last year at this time. Yes, they've scored in more Grand Prix. But I'll just say this. They've had to destroy Magnussen's career and Magnussen's reputation to get half the points they got this year. They're exactly the same place they were last year. And that's only 6 points for Hulkenberg. 6 points, like I said, this time last year. And I've hashed in many other episodes before, it was really 2. He really was going to finish 9th in that fuckery that was Australia 2023. Take out that and take out the sprints. Hulkenberg has yet to score as many points as Mick. I think it's like half, essentially. Because he has 2 points in a sprint this year, and he got 3 last year, and 4 points were given. So that's 9 of Hulkenberg's only 15 points in sprints. Either sprints are given, or given to him, like I said, reclassification. Sean will say something like, well, you had to be there to get the points. Okay, fine. But he's only really like a few points ahead of Mick, and Mick was treated like trash in 2022. A lot of points were taken off the board because they tried to favor Magnussen. Japan 2022, Austin 2022, where Mick was doing really good. Like Italy, where Mick could have stayed out on old tires for the whole race. That's my personal opinion, because he was consistently lapping ahead of Bottas, who was in 9th, while Mick was 8th. Would have made sense to keep Mick on the track as long as possible. And then there was a late safety car. Mick would have probably even gotten to the top 6. People forget he passed 8 cars in the past 10 laps in a Haas in 2022. Like it's stuff that they worship people like Tsunoda, Albon, and Zhou for, and they don't do, really. Coming in like a good, hard-fought 12th. They'll worship Tsunoda, Zhou, and Albon for that, but they will just crap all over Mick Schumacher, son of a 7-time world champion, all the potential in the world, F2, F3 champion, which none of those 3 people I mentioned were. I'm going to get into that. So let's start here and how I think his relation to the 2025 driver market is. I went off enough of a tangent. So Williams is first. Williams right now there's a lot of talk about Antonelli replacing Sargent, and I think I saw a report today, Wolf basically saying, and Val was basically saying, yeah, it's too soon. Duh. Sean and I mentioned this on a previous philosophy. Of course it's too soon. He's barely had a chance to settle into F2. You're going to replace a guy who didn't do that well in F2, Logan Sargent, with a kid who's barely had not even a 10th of a season, really. 4 races out of 28, so it's a 7th of a season. And what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, he might be super talented. Yeah, he might have all the potential in the world. But like we said in philosophy, Max Verstappen had a year in F3 and then was skipped to F2. Antonelli was skipped over F3, and they almost skipped him over F2 to be at a bad car to ruin all his confidence. Once again, you could learn from Mick Schumacher. When you give someone a shitty car for a year, it's not always a good thing. It takes a while for them to redevelop themselves, to regain their confidence. And Mick had his trampled on it every step of the way because Steiner never wanted him. There was an excellent comment on our YouTube channel by one of our listeners. It's Mick Faison or Siphon. I don't know how exactly you say his YouTube handle. But he brought up a point about how Nico Hulkenberg was told before the 2022 season started, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, build up your reputation, because we're going to get rid of Mick no matter what for you in the summer of 2020, or the late 2022, early 2023 silly season. So it was never really going to be there. And for Mick Siphon on YouTube, post that link in one of the comments in one of our videos. We'd like to see that report where Hulkenberg was promised the seat. I couldn't find it myself. We're not saying you're wrong. I just want the proof. I want to show people exactly what you believe in, because I respect all of my listeners' opinions here. Thank you to all our subscribers, to all the people watching our videos. We really appreciate that. Hulkenberg was told you got the seat already, so Mick was trampled on with this confidence throughout 2021 and 2022. How do you think that's going to work for someone like Antonelli, who has all the pressure of the world on his shoulders right now? He's the one who's supposed to save Mercedes somehow as a 17-year-old. Even Verstappen, who had all this hype and all this potential, wasn't given the keys to the kingdom right away. They gave him a year and a half, or a year and a bit, I think, until they brought him into Red Bull. And even still, all the pressure was on Daniel Ricciardo when Mick came in, or when Max came in. So Max was just given free range to develop into the person he wanted to become. And he's rewarded Red Bull with huge dividends. So Antonelli to Williams, to me, is very rushed. And there's all this pressure on him. Where's the pressure on Albon to redevelop Williams? To potentially go to Mercedes one day to help Mercedes. They're giving it all to Antonelli. They say, go develop in Williams, bring them back to life a little bit, because Sargent's not doing it. And then go to Mercedes and resurrect Mercedes when they have terrible engineers right now who just are not figuring it out. They have drivers who are giving them no information. I'm going to talk more about my thoughts on Mercedes soon. But that's a lot of pressure on Antonelli. And he doesn't necessarily have the talent. He looks really good. He looks really promising. But you don't know yet. Esteban Ocon came into F1 with the same hype. Lance Stroll came in with the same type of hype. Doesn't always work out that way. Does everybody remember Stoffel Van Dorn? Sometimes it doesn't work. For every 3 of those drivers, there's 1 Max Verstappen. You don't know if Kimi Antonelli is going to be that yet. You don't know what he's going to be, so just wait. And thankfully, they've had the sense, even though they asked for a super license permission. And they might still fuck it up later come Spa if Antonelli really lights up F2, which, like we said, there's no proof of that yet. Watching a video by someone on YouTube, I don't remember his name, saying it's a secret that Antonelli would get a lot of penalties in F4. He's a very reckless driver. Like I've said before, that doesn't always necessarily mean a bad thing. It means someone's going for it. They're learning. I would rather that in development years. I would rather that in F4, F3. Like Verstappen, who wasn't a great qualifier, who was a little reckless, who had a lot of penalties in his first few years in F1, a lot of accidents. That's okay. But it also means you have to tread carefully with someone like Antonelli. So if you're done with Sargent, which is what it looks like, I'm talking to Williams right now. Williams, if you are finished with Sargent, which as Sean and I have hashed out in previous episodes, what they did to him in Australia, that was it. I think that was it for him. Why not give Mick Schumacher that seat for the rest of the season? Where's Wolf pushing that right now? You have someone with a lot of potential. You have someone with previous F1 experience. You have someone who won F2, unlike Sargent, in the system, working with the cars. Sean has talked before how important it is, if you're a Mercedes product, to help develop Williams. Like Nick DeVries understood the Williams car better than anybody else. Well, Mick has now been doing that for a year and a half. Why not give him a shot at that? You know you're done with Sargent. Like we talked about in the last philosophy, or 2 episodes ago, we said, unless Sargent wins, he's not staying in F1. And even if he wins, he's probably not staying at Williams based on the way things are going. That would be an audition for another seat. So just cut the cord now. You don't want him. He's not performing. You can't rely on him. And give the seat to Mick Schumacher while Kimi Antonelli develops in F2. And it's a win-win, like Sean and I have talked about before. Vowles needs to start thinking in win-win situations here. You can blame it all on Mick if it's a bad choice. Oh, he's reckless. Oh, he's just not like his father. Oh, he crashes all the time. Oh, he doesn't really have the talent. He was just hype. Or he comes in and does really good for you, and you start having 2 drivers who can score points for you. It's a win-win. You know for a fact Mick's going to be better than Logan. Just give it a shot for the rest of the season. Logan's had his time to try it. He's never finished in the top 10 really, except for that sprint race in Miami. It was his first actual top 10 finish. The one in Austin was bullshit. Million reasons why. I'm not going to get into it. But you know he can't do it. You know even probably by the end of the season he's not going to be able to do it. You know he probably needs another year after that. If you don't see that potential now, and nobody ever really did, you did it for whatever, like sponsorship reasons or to get the American market, which Americans, like I said in the past, are not fucking stupid. They know Logan Sargent sucks. There's a million other drivers you could have gotten from America. You could have gone for Colton Herta. You could have gone for Pato O'Ward. You could have gone for Alex Palou. You know they're good. They succeeded in lower leagues. Like Indy is not what it used to be, but it's still somewhat comparable. You could have given them a shot because they've won races. They had confidence. Logan didn't win F2. Logan wasn't good in F2. Finished 4th. Cut the cord now. Get Mick Schumacher in there. Give him a chance. The chance that he deserved properly. If Vowles treats Mick the way he's been treating Logan, Mick will perform. Because Steiner was working against Mick, and he still did pretty decent. Yes, satisfactory at times. But that's because the team was working against him. He finished his best ever position in Austria, 6th, after rightfully critiquing their strategy and got proven right. And all that fucking queer Rich Gannon had to say, his fucking engineer. Imagine Jean-Pierre Lambiese saying this about Max. Rich Gannon came out and said Mick's attitude was awful. You fucking queer, Rich Gannon, who worshipped Kevin Magnussen for a 9th in 2019. Watch the video on YouTube. It's called Kevin Magnussen Treats a 9th place like a win. And you hear Magnussen like whooping and like so excited for finishing 9th. And Rich Gannon's like, oh, you're such a great driver, Kevin. You fucking, ugh. So gross. Anyways, thank God Mick's out of Haas. Give him a chance at Williams. Sauber. Keep going from worst to first, I guess. Like I said in philosophy, a turd in the punch bowl was dropped when Nico Hülkenberg was signed for Sauber, which makes no fucking sense to me. I've hashed out Hülkenberg's career a million times. I'm not going to do it today. I'm just going to say to Sauber, what the fuck were you thinking? What the fuck were you thinking exactly? We need a German driver? Why not Mick Schumacher? Like I said, still has more points realistically than Hülkenberg ever did at Haas. Haas was trending in the wrong direction under Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg missed all of his marks at Haas that first year. Looks like he's getting slightly better now because of more point scoring finishes. Yeah, but like I said, 3 of them were Kevin Magnussen destroying his reputation for him. Kevin Magnussen destroying cars so Nico Hülkenberg could get 1 or 2 points. Pissing off Lewis Hamilton. Coming out and admitting, I had to play the team game. Is Nico Hülkenberg so bad you have to destroy the grid behind you so he can finish 10th? That sprint race, I said it to Sean right away. Nico Hülkenberg falls face first into a 7th because 3 cars ahead of him crash. Doesn't attack 6th. Barely defends 7th because Magnussen was doing it for him. That's a bad driver. What the fuck are you thinking, Sauber? Signing him before you needed to. Why not wait till the end of the season? If Hülkenberg was desperate to sign, that means Hülkenberg is a bad driver who's not confident in his results. If Hülkenberg came to you and said, yeah, I'll sign for you right now, you should have thought about that and said, oh, does it get worse? Does he not score any more points? Is he not consistent for us? You're behind Haas right now. You're going to finish behind Haas this year, like I called at the beginning of the season. So you're going to take a driver who you know can't do it right away, lock up one of your 2 coveted seats because potentially in the future you could be pretty good. Potentially. Not with his help. We know that for a fact. We know for a fact Force India got good after he left. We know for a fact Renault got a lot better after he left. We know for a fact Esteban Ocon, Daniel Ricciardo, and Carlos Sainz got podiums at Renault after he left, while he couldn't manage podiums. So you think signing a 37-year-old who's going to be 39 by the end of his contract, so getting worse, 3 years out of the sport, didn't exactly come back and do amazing last year. Oh, he qualified really well. Yeah, thanks. Cool. Is Charles Leclerc a champion then because he qualifies really well? No. No, he can't race. Nico Hülkenberg. You too, Charles Leclerc. He can't race. You need a good racer. If 10-time race winner Valtteri Bottas is screwing it up for you, and yeah, Sean and I have hashed out as to why that maybe is, but if 10-time race winner, multiple-time podium finisher Valtteri Bottas, podiums at Williams, Nico Hülkenberg, you were at Williams. Did you get any podiums there? No. Lance Stroll was at a bad Williams falling off the grid. Did he get podiums there? Yes. If Valtteri Bottas, 10-time race winner, multiple-time podium finisher at Williams before he got to Mercedes, can't fix this team, what the fuck do you think this driver's going to do? Why am I the only one saying this? Where was your thought process? And like I said, if you needed a German, get Mick Schumacher. Coax Sebastian Vettel out of retirement. Maybe get a German youngster that nobody's heard of. Anybody will do better than him, we know this. Unless you're fucking delusional, you think he's the right choice. The only people who think Nico Hülkenberg is the right choice are people who are inept or fucking delusional. Gunther Steiner, I'm looking at you. You're both of those things. You think you're the most popular thing in F1, and you think you're a good team principal. You're neither of those things. We know from your results. And you're sitting there bragging, going, yeah, I knew Nico Hülkenberg was really good. You didn't know fucking anything. You knew nothing. You destroyed a team with a lot of potential. That's what you did. Over the course of 10 years, you destroyed this team. Now they're finally sort of rebuilding and looking a little bit better, but like as I pointed out, not actually looking better. They're at the same points they had last year. They could still not score points for another 15 Grand Prix because their drivers both suck. The engineering isn't exactly good. They said last year, we're going to get the upgrades based on Hülkenberg should take us forward, should go in the right direction last year. And they fell fucking flat on their face. Had to go back to their old car. Several times they did this. All of their upgrades weren't worth shit because they were learning from Hülkenberg and Magnussen. More than likely that will happen again. I'll give them a chance. I'll say maybe it doesn't happen that way. Maybe they get better. But odds are it's not. And odds are you're not scoring points the rest of the season. Because you scored points in Miami last year, Magnussen did. You scored points in Saudi Arabia last year, Magnussen did. You scored points in Australia. The exact same thing has happened this year, except you scored extra points in China. Good work. We're proud of you. But what you had to do to get those points is destroy Kevin Magnussen's career. Thanks, because we need him off the grid too. But you didn't do it because you thought Magnussen was bad. You did it because you needed to help Nico Hülkenberg. And everybody, the Formula One media has now come out and basically said, oh, that's bad by Kevin Magnussen. You're going, yeah, that's unacceptable. We didn't tell him to do that. What the fuck did you tell him to do then? Defend? Help Nico? He did. He did his job. Maybe not exactly the way you would have wanted to, but if you thought Nico was good, you wouldn't have to ask him to do that. Why? Why am I the only one saying this? And Sauber, what the fuck were you thinking? Again. Carlos Sainz doesn't want to go there now. He might have if it was his team. If you didn't maybe sign Nico Hülkenberg. Seeing the way you've been inept all year. That's another thing too. If you're bad now, how much worse are you going to be when Nico gets there? Because like I said, 10-time race winner Valtteri Bottas is not having a good time there. Maybe it's just a bad fit. Maybe Nico will be better. I don't know. Odds are against it though. What the fuck were you thinking? Somebody needs to smack you upside the fucking head. You're German. You're supposed to be smarter than this. I guess they're Austrian. They're about to be German. Swiss. Sorry, Sauber's Swiss. All three of you are smart, and you're still all being inept. I respect all three of those cultures. A lot of smart people from all three of those nations. And all three of you are fucking it up right now. Get Nico Hülkenberg out of there. You're still time to rip up that contract. Trust me, it's a good idea. Mick Schumacher, Carlos Sainz. Mick Schumacher, Valtteri Bottas even for one more season. Yeah, Valtteri's not having a good time. Yeah, give you one more year to try and fix Sauber. If not, come Audi, we're going to get somebody else. More attractive power there. Anyway, let's go on to somebody else. Alpine. Oh, wow. I don't think Mick should go to Alpine. At all. It's inept. He's already there for their hypercar thing in WEC. Maybe he could help turn them around. Maybe he can give good information if they say to him, hey, we need your help. There is connection back there with Benetton, with Michael and Benetton. It worked well 30 years ago. Maybe you give him a chance there. Maybe you keep Ocon then, because it looks like Gasly doesn't want to be there anymore. And Ocon and Mick are friends, and yeah, maybe that doesn't always work. And Ocon's fucking crazy when Mick needs some guidance right now. It was Ocon who hit Mick that first race in Bahrain in 2022 and ruined Mick's race. Mick would have gotten to the top 10. Ocon isn't always... He's maybe a good friend, but he's not a good driver when you're a friend. Not a good friend driver, I guess I could just say. I don't know how Mick would fare there, and the team's clearly going backwards, and maybe it's not the place where Mick wants to be to kickstart his career. I think Mick would be a good fit anywhere. I'm biased. He's got a lot of potential. Like I said, never really given a fair shake. But the rumor is Ocon to Sauber kind of makes sense because that will finally destroy Ocon's career for us. Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's only if Sainz doesn't go. Because clearly Ocon doesn't want to be an Alpine. Nobody wants to be an Alpine right now, which is part of the reason why I would say, hey, maybe Mick, you should go there because they might still surprise. Renault is still a legacy team, a good past team. There's still potential there. And if you hit it right, you can look really good and act like you're the reason for the resurrection. It's a fucking long shot, and it didn't work at Haas. But hey, if you're familiar with Alpine cars, if the hypercar feels good for you, why not give them a try? Why not take any spot in F1 right now? Probably smarter to stay in the Mercedes family based on what we've seen, because they're the only one who gives a shit about you. But yeah, why not? And there's rumors right now of Gasly to Williams. And I just want to say, Gasly, if you're having a hard time right now at Alpine, being Albon's partner at Williams is not going to help you. He's one of those drivers, I think, like Ricciardo, it's just one specific spot was really good for him. He was really, really good at AlphaTauri. He's got his win there. He got several podiums there, which seems like a fucking long shot for Tsunoda and Ricciardo right now. People underestimate how good Gasly was at that AlphaTauri. I think maybe you should go back there. And Ricciardo should probably go back to Red Bull. I'll just talk about them now quickly. The RB, VCAR, Visa, Cash App, Red Bull, whatever the fuck they want to call themselves. 2025 driver market looks kind of, shall we say, ominous. Doesn't look good for you right now. You either have to keep Tsunoda, this seems like it's it for him. Inconsistent, like Sean pointed out in Philosophy last week. Yeah, he's getting points, and his delta's better. He's doing better. He's more consistently in 7th instead of 10th and 11th. But it's one good race, one bad race for him. Same with Ricciardo. Ricciardo just needs to be at a Red Bull, it seems like. But does he deserve it? I'll talk about this quickly because I missed it with Sauber. But Sergio Perez to Sauber made a lot more sense than Nico Hülkenberg. He did better than Hülkenberg at Sauber back in the day when Sauber released a fucking video of Nico Hülkenberg finishing 4th and holding off Hamilton in 2013. Who gives a fuck? Sergio Perez got you podiums, almost a win in 2012. Was consistently better than Nico Hülkenberg. Why not re-sign him? That would be the only place I think Sergio Perez should go, other than I think he should stay at Red Bull, realistically. Which means Daniel Ricciardo's probably out for 2025, unless he gets a lot better. Tsunoda, too, might be out for 2025. Because, like I've said before, this is a Danny Kvyat situation. You might be too good for one team, and he's not too good. This is decent for VCARB. This is what should be expected of him and Ricciardo, who's shitting the bed. We know it's there, Daniel. You're just not living up to the potential in a race. But this is what should be expected of you, and you're being worshipped for it. But there's no evidence that you'll step into a better team and do much better. Realistically, I think both should go. If Tsunoda goes to Aston Martin because Stroll's gone and Honda wants a Japanese driver on their team, that's fine to me. It's one paid driver for another, and one doesn't kill people all the time like Lance Stroll does. Lance Stroll, you've got to get the fuck out of Formula One right now. But it looks like that team's set, so I won't talk anymore about Aston Martin. And VCarb, same thing. Either they keep Ricciardo and Tsunoda another season, which I don't know why you would do that, or they both go their separate ways. Is it Lawson and Tsunoda, which doesn't seem much better to me. To me, Gasly and Lawson would make a lot of sense because you got someone who's good there, Gasly, and someone who can start making a name for himself there. But that won't happen. And Marco's closed the door on Mick Schumacher going there, who would have been excellent, I think, at AlphaTauri or VCarb, but that door's closed. I know I've already shit all over Haas for most of this episode, but I just want to touch on Bierman. They're saying it's imminent he's going to Haas. Sean and I already talked about this too in philosophy. But what the fuck? How was he given such praise for less when you destroyed Mick Schumacher? You destroyed a rookie before being a rookie, for being young and brash. And a guy who was worse than Mick in F3. Not doing good at all, like Sean and I talked about in F2. And did some decent testing. By the way, it was last in testing. Oh, he's only 2/10 behind Magnussen and Hülkenberg. Yeah, he might have been more, like Sean and I pointed out. But it was fucking practice. Magnussen and Hülkenberg may not have been doing their best. So you don't know. You do know he stepped into the second best car and only finished 7th, should have been a 9th. Two different teams fucked up in order for him to get 7th. So like I said, what is he really going to do in a worse car, trending in the wrong direction, harder to drive? Ask Mick how easy the Haas is to drive. It's not. It's not. Bierman, and when the car's not easy for you to drive, you don't do too well, like we see right now at Prema. No evidence to see that this kid will be a good fit in Haas, or in F1 for that matter. Probably needs a few more years in the juniors. If you really want to suck this kid's dick, give him some more time in the juniors to prove himself. If you really think he's the future, like I see so many fucking Instagram posts where people I respect are posting the future of F1, Lawson, Antonelli, and Bierman. And it's like, all three of them aren't necessarily good fits yet. Lawson is the one who seems the most consistent, but he wasn't exactly spectacular at his time in AlphaTauri, as I like to remind people. One decent race in Singapore, and a few very abundantly below average races after that. Not much better than Ricciardo. Not much better than Tsunoda. If they're both about to be out of F1, Lawson doesn't exactly look attractive, does he, if he's worse than them? Yeah, maybe with more time. Yeah, I think Lawson has potential too. But like Sean and I have pointed out in the statistics, he starts really good and then just kind of becomes average. He didn't win Super Formula. Look, I want to give Lawson a chance. I want to give Antonelli a chance. I think all three should one day be in F1. Bierman simply for the fact that they need to get fucking over this guy because he's not that good. If he gets in F1, they're going to worship crap that he does. He's going to finish 13th. They're going to be like, so close to the points. One spot off the points because they're obviously going to change the point system. It's a losing battle, so I don't talk about it that much. Which would be fucking stupid. They're going to worship everything he does, no matter how bad it actually is, Bierman. So let's just get him in there. Let's get it over with, and then eventually they'll turn sour on him. Because he's not going to do anything special, especially at that Haas. Yeah, and I'll just point out this for Haas. K-Mag has to be done, right? I've already gone over it a million times. He has to be finished, right? I don't know. Apparently Komatsu respects him from the rumors, but the Formula One paddock rumors are either really, really true or really, really false. So that might not be the case. Komatsu came out in an interview after Miami and said, yeah, we like what Kevin's doing, but we got to give him the rest of the season, and he can't keep doing stuff like this. which is fucking duplicitous, which is, yeah, we're proud of Kevin for playing the team game, but don't make us look too bad. Even though he has to give Hulkenberg points, by the way. I gotta stop talking about him, but I can't. It's just, I have to destroy him to finally get a new chapter in Formula One. That's how my mind is working right now. I have to be the lone dissenting voice because everybody fucking worships him for some reason. Anyways, one day we'll be proven right on that. Sean's even soured on Hulkenberg, as you can tell in other philosophy episodes. Just not as much as me, and he wants me to shut up about it because he's right. I need to shut up about it, but I can't. I can't. Because he's still in the fucking grid for 2 more years with nothing to justify it. Mercedes. Hamilton's gone. He wants greener pastures. We'll see how he works out in Ferrari. Sean and I have talked about it a million times. We won't talk about it here. Something nobody else is talking about, which Sean and I alluded to once, is George Russell has to go. George Russell can't see himself as safe at Mercedes, can he? All said and done, his career there has been pretty lackluster, and now his 3rd season. It's a lot of 6th and 5ths, which is fine, but that's not what they need. They wouldn't be rushing Antonelli and so desperate for Antonelli if they thought George was good enough. So George has to be seeing all this going, oh, fuck, I'm not as good as I think I am, which we know he's not. He's definitely too arrogant for that. But he has to be in the back of his mind going, what place do I have come 26? People are saying they should get Antonelli into Williams as a stopgap solution so that come 2026 they can sign another driver with Russell. And in my mind, I'm going, who the fuck says Russell should stay? Mercedes should sign Carlos Sainz to a 2-year contract right now as a shot at Russell. You better start performing. You better start bringing out that potential or you're gone. Because who says that's not what's going through their mind right now? The British media takes it for granted that George Russell has a spot there because they want to see a fellow Brit there. But he doesn't exactly deserve it, does he? He hasn't been doing exceptional. Yeah, he won his first race 2 years ago now. It got worse last year. A lot of crashes on the last lap when Carlos Sainz wins. 2 in a row. He also, it's funny, it's not relevant, but he crashed in the first lap of Carlos Sainz's first ever win. So that's the only way Carlos Sainz wins, is when George almost kills himself. Or almost kills Zhou Guanyu. Oh, speaking of him, just to go back, I almost forgot. Haas was thinking of him as a solution. Don't you fucking dare. Don't you fucking dare give someone that we almost got rid of onto the grid again. This is Nico Hulkenberg, but worse. Seriously, I rate Nico Hulkenberg higher than Zhou Guanyu. That's how bad he is. I only hate Hulkenberg because it's been consistently bad for 12 years now. Zhou has no potential. Keep him off the fucking grid. What part of his career looks good enough to be at Haas? Doesn't develop good cars well in Sauber. Doesn't exactly get you points at Sauber. His best ever finish was 8th. Yeah, great. Qualified for 5th once and couldn't get off the line. He was so nervous. Let him fucking go. You rate him higher than you rate Mick Schumacher? Are you fucking kidding me? Probably makes more sense for you to bring back Mick Schumacher than it does for you to bring back Zhou Guanyu. And you would never do that, right? You would never bring back Mick Schumacher. So what the fuck are you even teasing Zhou Guanyu there for? The most useless driver on the grid. I expect nothing of Sargent. I expect nothing of Stroll. Some things are expected of Zhou, and he never delivers them. He's always at the back with Sargent. Let them both go. They both didn't do well in F2. Let them both go. You made the Chinese market happy for one race. Now let him fucking go. If you bring him back, you're fucking morons. Okay, anyways, back to Russell now. Russell can't be safe there, and Mercedes has to start thinking about that now. Yeah, if you want Antonelli at that team, the one you drop is George Russell. Because you know George Russell's going to antagonize anybody who's his teammate. He's having a hard time with Lewis, and Lewis is better than him. Just because George consistently finishes higher sometimes, nowadays, this season, Lewis is 1 foot out the door. Last year, Lewis was better than him. Sure, 2022, George was better, but only really in consistency. George got 1 pole, 1 win. Sorry, 2 poles, 2 wins. 1 sprint pole, 2. Good work. But otherwise, George has fallen flat. Hasn't grown. Hasn't flowered. Makes more sense to bring him back to Williams one day. Especially after 2026. When who knows, if Albon leaves and goes somewhere else, when the spots are cleared in 2026, Williams is sort of just acting on a year-to-year basis. Maybe bring George back. It makes more sense for Tabin to be there. And like Sean has pointed out in the past, he should have never really left. Because he has not lived up to Valtteri Bottas' potential. Bottas staying at Mercedes made more sense in hindsight. For everybody. For Mercedes, for Bottas, for George. George's reputation hasn't been ruined, so I'm going to start ruining it. Sean is in on this too, I imagine. Anyway. Antonelli and Schumacher at that Mercedes makes a lot of sense in 26, even 25. Not Antonelli. Schumacher and George Russell in 2025. If you want just 1 year stopgap, so you bring in Antonelli and maybe Carlos Sainz after that. Give Mick a shot at that Mercedes. He's been developing there as a reserve driver. He's been helping with the simulations, apparently. Hamilton and George Russell praised him. Whether they did that just to make Wolf happy, I don't know. But if you really do like him, give him a shot. Because Russell's not really working. That's a really good solution if you were just going to bring in Antonelli the following year. If you don't really rate Mick that highly, get him on the grid, let him show his stuff, let him get some good results, some confidence, and then he can go to another team and finish his career around there. Wolf, why not think about that? If Sainz doesn't want to go there, if Alonso doesn't want to go there anymore, allegedly, why not give Mick the shot? He's in the system. You know what he can do. Your team's not exactly going to win next year. If you go back a little further, but you re-resurrect Mick Schumacher's career, why not? And just to relate to the next point, it even makes sense, too, to get Bottas in for just 1 year. 10-time race winner, right? For you, you know what he can do. If he's not as good as he used to be, fine. You let him go after 1 season. Maybe even half a season. I implore these teams to start saving Perez, Bottas, Ricciardo. Because if you're going to fucking save Nico Hülkenberg's career, F1, don't let what is 24 race wins between the 3 of them, 10 for Bottas, 8 for Ricciardo, 6 for Perez. Maybe more for Perez by the end of the year. I'll give him a chance on that. Don't let those 3 drivers, 24 wins, go off the grid and keep fucking no podiums in 208 races and counting on. By the end of this year, so there's now 18 more races left in 2024. That means 226 Grand Prix without a podium for Nico Hülkenberg. No, everybody, he's not getting a fucking podium. You have to know that by now. And then after 2025, it's going to be even worse at a worse Sauber. So then that's another 24 races. So that's 250 Grand Prix without a podium. People are shitting on Andrea De Cesaris saying, oh, Nico Hülkenberg just passed him. De Cesaris wasn't very good. De Cesaris got a lot of fucking podiums. Don't compare De Cesaris to Hülkenberg. De Cesaris got a lot of podiums. De Cesaris drove at a time where there was Senna, Prost, Mansell, Piquet, Fittipaldi, Lauda, Rosberg, KK Rosberg, all on the grid at some point in time. It was hard to get wins back then. Yeah, he never got them. Yeah, he wasn't as good as those legends. Still got podiums. Nico Hülkenberg was at a time on the grid, 2014 to 2019, where there was only Hamilton, Rosberg, Vettel. Sometimes Raikkonen, depending on if he felt like it. Sometimes Alonso. Well, Alonso was at McLaren at that point in time, so Hülkenberg should have definitely got some podiums at that point in time. Because Perez did, Sainz did, Ocon did, Stroll did, Bottas did. I gotta stop shitting on Hülkenberg, but it's just too fucking easy. But if you're gonna keep that idiot on the grid, all three of you have to band together to keep those three idiots on the grid too. For the love of God. Don't keep Hülkenberg on the grid and have 3 race winners off. That's why Sauber fucked everything up right now, this 2025 driver market that seems so attractive and so interesting preseason, where we possibly had 12 drivers to replace. Or at least shuffle, 3 of them shuffle, like Ricciardo, Bottas, Perez. Bottas and Perez especially should have just been reshuffled. Bottas deserved one more chance. Perez deserved one more chance. Ricciardo, we probably could do without at this point, unless he goes to Red Bull. But holy shit. If you keep Hülkenberg on the grid and not these 3 drivers, you're fucking insane. Anyways. I had one more thing I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it another day now, because this kind of wore me down. Ferrari and McLaren, they're good. Well, Sean and I have talked about it. McLaren's good. Ferrari, we'll see. But that's Nick's news for today. It is May 14th, 2024. I brought up Mick Schumacher's relation to the 2025 grid. This is really my Mick Schumacher rant part 2 in a way. But I'll have more of these updates in the future. More Mick content, which you guys seem to like. Underappreciated. But yeah, F1_philosophy at Instagram. F1 Philosophy at YouTube for more content. And F1philosophypod@gmail.com to join our fantasy league. All right, everybody. I'll be back next time for Nick's news. Good night.